Welcome to this special edition of the Tech for Climate Action podcast. We're actually filming in the coffee lounge behind the scenes at the event here in Brussels. And I'm delighted to welcome Karin Ekdahl Wastberg, who's from the city of Stockholm. First of all, welcome, Karin. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
I'd like to find out a little bit about what you do. Tell us about your role.
So my role is to work as a director of innovation. That means that I help all our 47 different administrations and companies owned by the city on innovation. And it's mainly up to them to articulate their needs and what they have to do during to our vision and our goals and our target areas. But it's up to me to make the connections with stakeholders around the city like academia and business sector and to connect. So I'm really helping all the 45,000 employees in the city.
So it sounds like it's quite a varied role as well. Like you probably come across all sorts of different projects that make an impact in different areas. Can you tell us about some of the projects that you're thinking about at the moment?
So we work on small things and larger things. One thing that we are doing right now is to rebuild a lock in the central part of the city. We've done that for 7 years approximately, and we are going to continue to do that for 3 to 4 years. It's a huge hole in the ground in the central parts of the city. And why we are doing that is to make the climate adjustments to future-proof the lock and the fresh water and the drinking water capacity that we have in the Lake Mälaren. That is really important to all the citizens in Stockholm, but actually for 2 million people around this lake.
And so when you're looking at these projects, how do you assess the impact you're having from a sustainability point of view? Is it just about trying to choose the right materials? Because I imagine you also have to worry about budget, timescales, availability. There's a lot of things to juggle, isn't there?
Yes, and this is a very expensive project. It's an investment around 2 billion euros. And as you can imagine, having a 10-year perspective on things from planning to pricing to investment, it can happen a lot during 10 years. So you always need to adjust, of course. But then I think it's about to choose the right partners to work with, the contractors, that they are interested in working on innovation, experimentation, and that they are having a dialogue with the citizens, because you can imagine the amount of problems with having a hole in the ground for 10 years is a lot of time for a citizen that you have troubles in the neighborhood for 10 years. So it's a lot of communications and collaborations with the contractors as well. So we choose carefully who to work with, and of course we have procurement and so on, but it's easier for us to collaborate with partners that share the same values and the same goals that we do. So you're probably working a lot on becoming climate neutral if you're a partner to the city of Stockholm.
And we're here at the Tech for Climate Action conference. So talking about tech, what role does that play in when you're thinking about these projects?
Leaving the lock situation, we use digitalization and tech and data and science and collaborations with universities a lot to help us to reach our goals. And the City of Stockholm, we've been awarded Smart City Award in 2019 and also been awarded the first European Green Capital in 2010. So we've always combined environmental issues with the digital and tech, striving to connect the two. So right now we have a collaboration called Digital Futures, where we collaborate in a partnership program with business and academia to kind of transfer the society in a more sustainable way. And there we work on small projects and larger projects, and trying to learn things and to apply science in the real world and to develop new business opportunities for the companies, small and large companies. So I think it's a lot about seeing is believing, look at the data, get some new ideas, talk to great partners and learn a lot from each other. And it's a massive job. It's a step-by-step approach and you can't skip any corners really. You need to do the work. And I think we have policies and we have visions and a lot of documents and target areas and so on. But in the end, it's about the people trying to learn things, to do things in a different manner and to achieve a result that we want. If we want the same result, we can just continue, right? So we need to do things in a different way. We need to change behaviors, the way we work, the way we procure, the way we invest. And we have to learn from the mistakes we make because it's not perfect from the beginning. It is a lot of nitty-gritty work, actually.
I'm interested in that journey because I think that's a really powerful statement that, yeah, we could just carry on doing things the way we've always done them and making the same mistakes or causing the same harm to the planet. Tell us a little bit about the journey, though, in Stockholm, because Scandinavia, for a lot of people, I think certainly if you're thinking about electrification, about cleaner energy, I think most Europeans would see you as the leader, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, for various different reasons. What's that journey been like? Because I guess you did have to start where a lot of the other countries have got to start.
Yes, I think, was it Isaac Newton that said, I stand on the shoulder of giants? And really, so do we in the city of Stockholm. It's been stakeholders from many years that worked on specific areas like water, waste management, public transportation, and so on. And they tried to make a system sustainable to begin with. So as a citizen, you don't need to think so much about how to choose the right heating or electricity, or if you jump on the metro, that's sustainable in a way, and make that choice easy. It should be easy to make a sustainable choice in the city. For instance, we worked with the water issues for many years, for decades, I would say, or even since the 1850s, when industrialization and urbanization affected the city and the water quality. And then we worked with the water and waste company and improved the plumbing and the cleaning the waters. And in the 30s, it was actually not good water quality. So there was a ban on swimming in the whole city, actually. But then they worked a lot with sewage and plumbing and so on. And from the 70s, the ban was lifted. And now you can actually swim right outside the city hall, but I wouldn't recommend it because of the boat traffic. But it's possible to do that.
I think there's many places in the UK where I live who just dream about that. It's a very hot topic at the moment that the water quality is not good enough. The investment has not been there. There's probably a lot of politics involved in this as well because our water services were privatised. They're not owned by the local government. But in terms of impact, so if I'm a local citizen in Stockholm, I imagine like a lot of people, you want to do your best for the planet, yes, but it can come at a cost. So how do you sell these new initiatives, if you like, to your citizens, but also to businesses?
I think you can make choose the right sort of way and also being comfortable with that alternative. If you choose public transportation, for instance, you're probably there on time. It's safe. You don't get stuck in traffic. It's reliable. So to have that quality of the good alternative, I think that's the way forward. But it's also about making changes, and people sometimes need to change their behavior as well. So right now we're implementing a zero-emission zone downtown the city of Stockholm, 10 blocks where you're not allowed to enter without an electrified vehicle. And of course that demands some new behaviors from the citizens living in that area, and also for the businesses and the restaurants and so on. But we hope, and we study this very thoroughly, and we will continue to do that with census and all the data and how to follow the development in this zone. So it's a bit of an innovative co-creation work that we have ahead of us. But for sure, we need to change. We all need to change our behavioral in some sense.
So the zone that you've talked about, that you have to have an electric vehicle. So, because here in Brussels, where we are at the moment, it's a low emission zone, but that still means I think you can drive cars pretty much up to 2016 and Cap 6, the European standard.
Have that as well.
You have that as well, but you're actually going further and saying, got to be electric.
I think it's the first zero emission zone in the world, if I'm told correctly. So we'll see what happens.
And what's the take up for electric vehicles like in Sweden? Because we hear a lot about Norway. Norway leads the world.
Oslo is fantastic.
Yeah, you must be ahead of many of the other countries in Europe. Where are you on that scale?
I think we're a runner-up to Oslo, probably. But we also have a target that lower the amount of cars in the city. So if you need to go by car, you probably would choose an electric car or a zero-emission car. But the ideal will be like if you can use a bicycle or walking or take the public transportation. So we have two goals.
Yeah. So we heard today at this conference about the circular economy. So particularly Ilias was talking, if you haven't listened to episode 2 of this podcast, which is the last episode, you should. He was talking about the economy, digitalization, but also this circular idea. So making the right choices about reusing, repairing. That's quite a hard sell for people. For me, at least, it's what my grandparents used to do anyway. And then now we're just used to cheap fashion, cheap electronics. We don't really perhaps think about it. Is that circular economy also part of what you're trying to do in Stockholm?
Yeah, so we put a lot of effort to increase the emissions from the systemic level, so to say. And we've done that by 70%. But now we need to reduce the emissions from road traffic, from plastic, and so on. But we're also looking into consumption-based emissions from what we eat, the clothes, materials. And that's a little bit trickier because it needs the citizens' engagement and the companies developing new services and new models and so on. So that's ahead of us. And I think that's very exciting because one of the companies here being Amazon, for example, I think that's super interesting that they also are on the road to climate neutrality, but they also like to keep their business. So they're thinking a lot about how to involve the local community and the services very locally to reduce the emissions from transportations and logistics. So I think if the whole world changes a little bit in this direction, I think we could find solutions that we can't think about right now because we can't imagine that far ahead. So I think it's super exciting times and people are very clever. They will find out great things. I'm sure of that.
You touched upon the role of business, actually. So it is interesting. If you see Amazon behaving in a certain way, it influences you, doesn't it? Also, Google were here talking about how they're trying to be more efficient. I think both companies are one of the biggest purchasers of clean energy because of the data centers. So business actually has a role in influencing us as consumers. It's not just the consumers that have got the issue, is it?
No, and that's why the city also needs to engage with the business sector because it's really a triple helix collaboration that's needed, I think. You need the academia, you need the business sector and the public sector because we can articulate our needs and our goals for the future. And the researcher can tell us, is that enough? And what can we learn and add on knowledge? But the business sector, they have great opportunities to come up with new services or new ways of doing things. So this collaboration, I think, is key. And that's why the City of Stockholm, we work really hard to have great partnerships with companies and actors that shares the same value that we do. So we use a climate city contract to articulate that and to be very clear on our goals. And everyone that wants to help us achieve that, we collaborate with them. And we also procure in the manner that we drive the development within that sector in the right direction. For example, the first electrified excavator, it was procured by the City of Stockholm, and the largest zero-emission construction site is now downtown Stockholm as well. So procurement and all the tools in the box, really, we need to use them all to help us drive the society in the right direction.
Fantastic. We're here at this event, the Tech for Climate Action event. What have you heard today that's made you think, oh, that's interesting? First of all, there were so many people here. It was standing room only. So it's obviously a hot topic, isn't it?
I think, and it's probably going to be for many years to come as well, both tech and climate. I'm a little bit surprised about the quantum computing stuff. We, in the city, we have a very advanced fiber network, a black fiber network, an open network connecting almost 100% of the households and the companies in the city. And there, the Ericsson company and the Royal Institute of Technology, they have some research on quantum communication. So they can send a photon, and don't ask me about the details, but they can send a single photon and receive it in the deployed fiber net. And kind of fantastic, because it's only been done before in a lab kind of environment. So again, the collaboration and looking a little bit around the corner, what's coming next, I think it's super exciting. And just to sit here for a few minutes and listen to all the experts from the researchers, from the business sector, from the commission, it's super inspiring, I think.
It has been like a parade of PhDs, hasn't it?
Yes.
There's been environment, space, AI, quantum computing. Mostly I've followed what they're talking about, but I'm with you, some of the detail. I suppose that's the point though, innovation will happen. Some of it won't really go anywhere, and some of it will result in products and services that you can buy.
Yes, that's part of the beauty of it, that not everything will fly.
Yeah.
So what you have to do, since we are using the taxpayers' money, we are really careful about making too many mistakes. So what we tried to do in the time before we went into go into projects, we tried to identify what are the really bad mistakes we could do. What are red mistakes? We can't do that. So it probably has to do with health and life, life and death. Probably someone would mention finance and budgeting. It can't cost that much. But otherwise, you need to make some mistakes, and you need to make them really fast so you can learn from it and try and develop new ways. Learning from the mistakes, that's really the key. Yeah. And I'm a huge fan of seeing is believing. So if you see that something works or interesting data, you can elaborate on that. So you need to really quick move on to trying things in test beds or pilots or innovation zones in the city. So really quick one to doing things.
Well, that brings me to my final question, which is what's next for the city of Stockholm?
What's next? It is a very exciting time in the city of Stockholm, because we are aiming not for just become climate neutral, but climate positive. And in order to be that, we need to capture carbon in our district heating system. And we have a company called Stockholm Exergi, half owned by the city, that works on collecting the carbon. And that's super exciting. And that's how we will become climate positive.
And that will be quite an event when you do that, I think.
Yes.
You'll be shouting about it.
In 2 years' time, you are all welcome to Stockholm to see this.
We need to come on a study tour, learn from you.
Or the conference can come to Stockholm. That will be super.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
We'll talk to Tom and Simon. Well, thank you so much for your time. It genuinely is fascinating to hear your journey and also how you've gone about things and some of those learnings, because I think more than just understanding tech, it is about the story, about the journey and taking people with you. So thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks. It was a pleasure.